I'm an ex-visa officer, and if you're reapplying for your US visa, I've got some tips for you, right? When you're reapplying, if you've been refused before and you need to reapply for your visa, you've got one chance to really turn it around in the best way possible, all right? Your best chance when you apply for a visa is always the first time. If you've been refused once though, that visa officer is going to have some negative thoughts, some negative first impressions, and you really need to take advantage of the first opportunity that you're given to change their mind when you're reapplying, okay? If it's the second time you're reapplying, the third time you're reapplying, it's even more important that you're super prepared, because that's just an accumulation of negative evidence that the visa officer has in front of them. When they open your case, they're going to see those prior refusals. It's time to reapply. They're thinking, my colleagues have already made a decision. I'm probably going to rely on the decision that my colleagues have already made because they all have similar credentials, they rely on each other's expertise. However, they do not have to trust 100% what their colleague has said in their previous decision notes. They can make a different decision. They can decide to issue you your visa even though their colleague has refused you in the past. But they're only going to do that if they have a very confident feeling about your application. If there's strong information that they get at the very beginning of the interview that convinces them to change the opinion, to change the decision of the other officer and issue your visa. Okay, now how do you do that? The visa officer is going to open up your case. They're going to see that you were refused. That's the first thing that they're going to see. They're going to look at your application and they're going to talk to you. They're going to ask you a question. Now, in your application, if you've got a problem from your previous application and there's a change, there's so many ways that this could possibly happen. I can't even go through that right now in this video, but that's something that you should reach out to us and get expert advice on, because if you need to change something in your DS-160, that's super important. If there's a fact, it doesn't have to be something new. Many people always think, oh, there must be something new, right? You have to make a change. I'm going to change my business trip from Seattle to Philadelphia. I'm going to change my college major from computer programming to information science. No, these types of changes are not what they're looking for. When they say that there should be a change, what they really mean is, give me a piece of strong evidence that proves that I should issue you your visa. It can be a change, or it can be something that you just did not present well because you were too passive in your previous interview. On that second interview on your DS-160, there is a question that asks if you've been refused before. Explain. Many people use this field in ways that does not help them at all, right? They say, oh, I was nervous, or oh, I stuttered, and that's why I got my visa refused. That is not the case. That is one field on the DS-160 where you know that the visa officer is going to read what you put into that field, okay? And so you can use that field to your advantage by being very concise and presenting some information in there that's going to affect their thinking. What's that information? It's going to be different for everybody. It might be your finances, it might be your family, it might be your profession, it might be your academics, whatever it's going to be. That's what we want to put in there so that it's the first thing that they see when they scan your application. Next, they're going to ask you a question. They're going to ask you, what are you going to do in the US? Okay, what's your purpose of travel? Maybe they're going to ask you, what's changed since your previous application, right? There's tons of questions that they could ask you. But for your purposes, don't think, oh, just how will I answer this question specifically? Think, I need to introduce myself. I need to put a different narrative into this visa officer's mind so that they don't just read what the previous officer wrote in the notes and then make the same decision. I need to put new information out there. I need this visa officer to think about what I want them to think about and consider about my case, not just consider what the previous visa officer already wrote in the notes. So when they ask you that question, you need to be ready with your highlights and any defenses to any of the hurdles or complications in your case that caused you to get refused the first time. There's no magic bullet. There's no cure-all for everyone. There's no panacea that's going to work for every single visa applicant that's going to turn it around and go from a refusal to an issuance the next time you apply. It's different for everyone because everyone's situation is unique, and that information you need to present to them to demonstrate your ties, which we've talked about in other videos. That information is going to be unique to everyone, okay? So I hope that you can learn from our videos what that might be in your personal situation, but really, it takes a visa officer, a former visa officer, to talk with you for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, to get to know you, to get to know your situation, and then finally to be able to present to you the strategy that you need in order to present that information in the best way possible to the visa officer. Click the link, go to our website. If you want to see what your chances are, we have a bot, the Argo bot, for F1 visas right now. You can go on there. It's a free tool that you can do as a self-assessment to see what your highlights and what your hurdles might be for your application, for your visa interview. That's how you're going to get your visa issued.